Hello, my name is Michael Ulrich, and I am Assistant Professor of Health Law, Ethics, and Human Rights at the Boston University School of Public Health and School of Law, and I am the guest editor of the forthcoming Symposium issue of the Journal of Law, Medicine, and Ethics on the evolving fight against gun violence. The United States has a growing gun violence crisis not found in any other high-income country in the world. Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. The US also accounts for 35% of global firearm suicide, despite making up only 4% of the world's population. And despite lower rates of overall crime, we're seeing gun violence reach heights we have not seen in at least 40 years. But it's important to note that the burden of gun violence is not felt equitably, with communities of color suffering disproportionately and Black men impacted most. It was amidst this backdrop the United States Supreme Court issued its most significant ruling on the scope of the Second Amendment, since it declared the amendment protected an individual right to own a handgun in the home for self-defense in the Heller decision in 2008. But in its latest decision, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, the court expanded this right out into the public. In Bruin, the court held that the Second Amendment protected a right to carry firearms in public, delivering a crushing blow to those seeking legal options to mitigate the growing threat of gun violence in this country. But this symposium seeks to offer some hope and suggests that there is indeed a path forward. While the court and politicians appear content to frame the issue as a choice between either gun rights or gun safety, these two positions are not, in fact, mutually exclusive. And focusing on public perceptions of gun rights and gun safety, rather than simply the perceptions of researchers, academics, and policymakers, this issue contains research demonstrating that the public does not appear to believe in this false binary either. An article led by Dr. Carrie Raytheon demonstrates the disconnect between policy priorities in Missouri politicians and its constituency by surveying public perception and attitudes towards the state's Second Amendment Preservation Act. Meanwhile, another article led by Dr. Julie Ward and researchers at the Center for Gun Violence Solutions at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health examines the differences in perceptions of gun-related safety by race and gun ownership. This research suggests that there are not many who actually feel that more guns in public would actually lead to safety. The symposium then explores the impact of expansive Second Amendment rights on various populations. In doing so, Dr. Caroline Wright and her co-authors make a compelling case for the importance of an intersectional approach that includes race and gender when studying stand your ground laws. Then Dr. Elizabeth Tobin Tyler focuses her article on intimate partner violence to illustrate that while women have been used as a justification for expanding gun rights, including in the Bruin case, in truth, they are more likely to be put at greater risk from such an expansion. Finally, the symposium includes articles that help to begin framing what I believe is a more justice-centered approach to fighting against gun violence. Dr. Jonathan Jay and Khalees Allen explain how policies that don't involve guns, but focus on things like green spaces and employment training opportunities, can in fact mitigate the impact of gun violence, as possibly provide some common ground for those who advocate for gun rights and those who advocate for gun safety. Meanwhile, Drs. Evan Vitelio, Kelly Roscom, and Jeffrey Swanson make the case for an expanded role for clinicians in separating people from their firearms temporarily under extreme risk protection orders. And finally, Leslie Barnard leads an article that shows how to leverage communities to improve firearms suicide prevention. My hope is that this symposium helps to inspire and inform those ready to take the next steps in the fight against gun violence.